Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. Buckle up, as it's a long one, and don't forget to listen to the end of the story to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and please like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I am female 19 and my parents' second child. I have 3 brothers, 21, 13, and 7, and a sister, 16. We grew up poor, and our parents were often dependent on financial help from relatives, friends, etc. for raising us. This is because even though my dad has a mediocre job and my mom doesn't work, they just kept on popping out one kid after another. My parents are very religious and believe that children are a gift from God. Personally, I think that's total BS. My parents' reproductive choices wouldn't bother me if it hadn't caused mine and my siblings' lives to turn to crap. While growing up, we never had new clothes or toys. We had to accept handouts from family members who were better off. We never went out or did anything fun. To top it off, we were well aware that the rest of the family looked down on us for constantly asking for handouts. Now, my older brother and I have managed to get into good colleges and are looking forward to a future that would be better than our parents' lives. He and I were staying at our parents' place for a while due to the virus lockdown. One morning, my parents called all 5 of us into the living room. Mom said she had great news. The smile that was forming on my face died a quick death when she said, "We're pregnant." I lost my temper. I asked them how they could be so stupid and irresponsible. Do they not have enough financial troubles already that they have to bring in another mouth to feed? My older brother tried to calm me down, but I was livid. After a lifetime of scarcity because of my parents' stupidity, they still hadn't learned their lesson. I asked them how they planned to provide for the kid. My dad told me I would have to give up the money our great-uncle had left me. He had left all 5 of us some money, which we could only access when we turned 18. I said, hell no. That money would help pay for my college expenses. He called me selfish for not being there for family. I told them if they couldn't provide for the kid, they should get an A. My mom started crying and called me a heartless monster. Dad told me he was disgusted with me. I told them there was no way I was going to pay for their stupidity, and the only thing I would be willing to pay for is a termination. What I was really worried about was my siblings' lives getting even worse. My older brother and I have escaped our parents' clutches, but the others, especially my younger sister, will be expected to help take care of this baby. No teenager deserves to have their adolescence ruined by diapers and a screaming baby. I know what it's like, as I had to go through that. It was expected of me to be an unpaid nanny to my younger brothers and sister. My older brother could go out with his friends and have fun, but I had to stay home and help give baths and feed the toddlers. I decided to get some family members involved so they could talk some sense into my parents. I called my mom's maternal cousin. She's one of my favorite people. When I told her that mom and dad were having another kid, she reacted with, "What? Again?" I told her everything and how they expected me to hand over my inheritance. She said she was going to speak to my parents and told me not to sign over anything. I promised her I wouldn't. Of course I won't. I also called 2 of my first cousins, one of whom is an accountant, so she could explain to my parents how much of a financial liability this baby is going to be and try to convince them to either terminate or give it up for adoption. I moved out of my parents' home a few days ago. I was only going to stay there till the lockdown was relaxed. But I just can't bear to listen to my mom's nagging about how this baby is a blessing and that I want to K it. I've moved into a friend's basement for minimal rent. My mom's cousin paid them a visit about a week ago and tried to tell them they weren't doing this child any favors by bringing them into a life of poverty. My mom was very rude to my aunt and told her that a woman who chooses to remain barren will never understand a mother's love. My aunt never wanted kids nor had any, one of the reasons she's my fave. My dad told her to get out. Aunt told me there was nothing she could do, but she did try. I didn't blame her. The cousin tried to explain the economic impact this kid would have, and my mom cried about how everyone was trying to take away her baby. What the hell? The intervention didn't do anything. So now I've decided to cut contact with my parents. I just can't watch my family slide further and further into a hellhole. I'll be maintaining contact with my sister, 16, just to make sure my parents can't brainwash her. My older brother is going to stay in touch with all of them, which is a good thing, as he can act as a link between me and the other siblings if my parents ever forbid them from talking to me. Otherwise, I'm done with these people. If OP's parents want to have a baby, OP should let them have it. But OP should not let them have access to her college fund or her siblings' funds for that baby. If parents want more money for the baby, mom can go and work and take care of it. Just because OP's parents want the kid, it doesn't mean that OP needs to sacrifice her future for the sake of the baby. It is OP's parents' choice and responsibility, and OP has nothing to do with it. And now let's hear the community's opinion. I applaud you. You don't owe them your college fund. They made their bed, they can lay in it. You might want to discuss with your siblings about signing anything over to their parents if Uncle left you all some money. That they seriously expected you to give up your future because of their carelessness and stupidity is just, wow. Good on you for sticking to your guns and noping out of that crap. They clearly refuse to see reason or how their bad choices have impacted the lives of you and your siblings. Selfish a-holes. Your parents' reproductive irresponsibility is not your fault, and you shouldn't have to pay for it. They're toxic people, and you should feel fine with excising them from your life. Update. Yesterday afternoon, I got a call from my older brother. He told me that my mom has miscarried. This is hardly surprising, as she's in her 40s. I felt a huge wave of relief wash over me. My siblings' lives would not be worsened by my parents' insistence on adding another mouth to feed on an already tight budget. My sister would not be asked to give up her inheritance so they could have money for their new baby. My brother told me my mom had been crying, and while I did feel bad for her, I was still glad to hear about the miscarriage. I feel like we all dodged a huge bullet. Bro asked me to move back in for a while to help comfort my mom. I told him I wasn't going to move in because 1, my college would reopen in a few days, and 2, I'm done with all the family drama. However, I did agree to come visit my mom, if only out of courtesy. In the evening, I went over to my parents' place. I took chocolate chip muffins for my mom, which I know she likes. My sister greeted me at the door and told me Mom had been in bed all day. After greeting my dad, I went into their bedroom. Mom was sitting up on the bed. I told her I was sorry about what happened and placed the muffins on the bedside table. She looked at me angrily, then threw the muffins at me. She screamed at me that she had lost her baby because of me. She said I had caused her stress, and it's what caused her to miscarry. She said I was probably glad her baby was dead, which is true, but of course I didn't point that out. She called me a witch and said I had wished this upon her. She was screaming so loudly, all my siblings and my dad came rushing to the bedroom. She yelled at me to get out. I did. I hugged my older brother and sister. Before I left, my dad told me my mom was right, that my cruelty caused her to miscarry. I told him that was a grossly unfair accusation and reminded him that at Mom's age, it was quite common to miscarry. Then I walked out. I'm so done with my parents and their stupidity. I can only hope they won't try for another kid. The relationship has been red flags to me since the beginning. My sister was always very into music and artsy, loved makeup and hair, but stopped wearing her style of clothes, all makeup, due to the boyfriend's accusations of her doing this to garner male attention. She also stopped going to concerts because he would accuse her of having date night and cheating with her colleagues, friends that she was attending the concert with. So then I find out that the man was actually still married to another woman since the start of their relationship. He told my sister they were separated. Obviously, the emotional aggression infuriated me. Here he is being accusatory about every aspect of my sister's life, but he has a whole freaking wife. I asked what was going on with that. My sister said that he was still married because the wife was on disability and had significant health problems, lupus, and needed to be on his insurance plan. I still don't understand why the wife can't be on Medicaid. Fast forward about a year and a half, and my sister calls me to tell me that she's pregnant. This was a bit of a shock because she was always adamant that she never wanted kids. But I understand things change, and we are both over the moon with that little girl and so glad that she exists. However, the pregnancy wasn't easy for her because throughout it, he would state that he wasn't sure that the baby was his. My sister was working full-time before the birth, but took 2 months off after the birth. During that time, her and the baby were on state insurance. They were having all sorts of issues with getting the baby the right help while on state insurance. My question was, why wasn't my niece on her father's health insurance plan? My sister said it was because his wife still needed to be on it. So, state insurance isn't good enough for his wife, but it's good enough for his daughter? 9 months later, when we knew the eye color was blue, he again accused her of cheating and suspected he wasn't the father. He had it in his head his eyes were brown, and that brown eyes are dominant, so that the baby should have brown eyes. Since they were blue, the baby must not be his. My sister has blue eyes, and his sisters have blue eyes. Most of us who had middle school science and have used Punnett squares understand that means the baby had just as good of a chance of having blue eyes as brown. I thought he dropped it, but about 6 months ago, So when their daughter was 2.5 years old, my sister tells me that he had a paternity test done for inheritance reasons, so that no one could battle her inheritance of his IRA with the argument that the child wasn't his. Sir, who is battling with that assumption besides you? I know I've never taken a DNA test to be listed as a beneficiary on any family member's retirement account. But whatever gives them peace of mind, I guess. My sister makes significantly more than the child's father, and from the details I've gathered during our conversations, it would appear she is footing the bills. This week, they decided to buy a house. I'm excited for her and this opportunity, but based on the details in the next paragraphs, I'm worried. I know that my sister doesn't have good credit. I'm guessing the loan was approved in his name. He put the down payment on the house, took out some from his retirement to do it. I'm quite worried, though, that he will only have his name on the title, and that my sister will be paying his mortgage for him. And that as emotionally aggressive as he's been in the past, he would hold the house over her head in many ways. So the real concern for me came to play when my parents mentioned that they were moving the nanny into the house with them. I thought, hold up, what? I was told that the nanny, babysitter, was a woman in their townhouse complex that was home alone all day and liked the company of a child. So who is this nanny that my sister is paying her $17 an hour? Yes, my sister. The child's father isn't paying anything because he has a fraction of the income. To watch my niece. And why is my sister willing to move a neighbor into their house with them? I didn't say anything to my parents, and I won't because I don't want to create more issues in my sister's life. But I dug a little deeper on the internet. It wasn't easy to find because neither the baby's father nor his wife have much of an internet footprint. But I found what I was scared of finding. The wife has had the same address as my sister's family for about 2 years. The wife is my niece's nanny. The wife is the woman who is home all day, apparently in my sister's home, living there, watching my niece. My sister is paying the child's father's wife $17 an hour to spend more time with her daughter than she gets to spend with her. And now they are moving the wife into their new home to continue being the nanny. My mind is blown. I asked her about it yesterday. After circling around with her answers, she basically confirmed that his ex-wife is the child's nanny, lives with him currently, due to an aggressive ex, and will be moving into their house with them. I say ex because my sister claims they're divorced, but I don't see any evidence of it in any way, shape, or form, and I do not see any public records in the state of California for it. Speaking of which, they currently live in the Midwest, but he's been trying to get my sister to move in with their child to California for years, where the wife's family is from, not his or my sister's. I don't know what to do here. Am I overstepping my boundaries? I'm so worried about my sister's situation. She is no sister wife, I can tell you that. The only thing I can think is that she's just so head over heels for this man that she is accepting a lot of BS. My mind is running. I'm worried that now she will be paying down a mortgage for him and his wife, and paying his wife $17 an hour to watch their child while she slaves away at work. The wife has more time with my niece than my own sister does. My mind is just blown. What do I do? Can I do anything? Do I just stand by and watch this all happen? Maybe I've watched too many crime documentaries, but what if this is all a scheme? What if the wife could never have a child, and they essentially used my sister? What if they intended on taking an insurance policy out on her and harming her? What if this whole thing was a way for them to get a life they couldn't have before? Am I thinking too much? Am I being crazy? Well, maybe I'm tainted by watching Seeking Sister Wife, but this is a weird arrangement. Leave them be. Your sister is clearly cool with whatever duckery is happening here. I don't know if my husband is doing this on purpose or if he can't control himself, but he knows that it bothers me and still does it. He thinks the sun shines out of sister-in-law's butt. Nothing she says or does is wrong. When we visit, he would talk about her for 3 or 4 days afterwards like he is in a trance. We visited last week to see the new baby. I swear he was paying more attention to her and the baby than he ever did with me and any of our children. He was complimenting everything from how she looked, how clean the house was, the delicious food, how she even made the bread, how she remembered our favorite dishes, snacks, desserts. You are a superwoman. I literally had it with him and said enough a couple of times, but he just ignored me, and she just giggled all the time and welcomed the compliments. Now, he has been talking about how great and perfect she is since we got home. I had enough, so I told him to go sleep with her if he is so in love. He looked at me with no expression and said, very mature. I broke down and asked why he was doing this, knowing that I am completely the opposite of her, to a degree that we aren't even close. He knows we are the opposite of each other. I am not Little Miss Perfect. I don't clean the windows while my infant is sleeping. I don't cook and clean when I've just given birth, and I sure can't lose my baby weight in 3 weeks. Why is he so insensitive to my feelings? Even if it is true, and I'm just jealous, and my jealousy is unfounded, isn't me being hurt and uncomfortable enough for someone who's supposed to love me to just stop? Well, it doesn't look like OP's husband likes her. He's nagging OP as a means to manipulate her. I feel like his comments might not even have anything to do with sister-in-law, and if it wasn't her, it would be someone else. He might want to knock OP's confidence and make OP feel like he's doing OP a service by being with her. Or maybe that's the way he's trying to make OP make changes and become Miss Perfect as OP's sister-in-law. But that's not love, guys. Would you stay married with a person who treats you like that, guys? And now let's hear the community's opinion. If you've set that clear boundary and reminded him multiple times that that makes you uncomfortable, and he continues to do so, you are not the a-hole. It's fair for you to be upset after stating multiple times that you don't like him constantly speaking about her like that. I'd go all out sappy and gush for hours about his brother just to annoy the hell out of him, but I am 100% petty. At this point, he knows how hurtful he is to keep talking about her. You've told him numerous times. I have a feeling that he is mean about most everything to you, and has a horrible habit of putting you down both privately and publicly too. Is this really the man you want to remain married to? Not the a-hole. When he starts praising her, start asking him, "What do you mean by that?" And keep asking him that question over and over again. If he gets frustrated, tell him you are trying to understand his need to keep praising her to you, and why he continues to do so when you have told him to stop.